What's good, YouTube? And welcome to format-dependent hand traps doing format-dependent hand traps things. Somebody in my Discord said this is going to be the best hand trap in the upcoming format. I personally think that's a bold claim with the mulch armies around, but this also counters the mulch armies along with a ton of strategies within Yu-Gi-Oh! And whenever a format gets truly out of control, it feels like Droll and Lockbird reels it back in. The ultimate rare does not have any triple-digit sales despite going towards 150 lowest listed right now. The top sales were around 80 some odd. I could see the sales going triple digits around the 115, 120, and we'll see if anybody does panic buy. And it's one of the nicer looking ultis out of OTS. But the quarter century secret rare has barely moved. I think there's one listing right now, around 28, so only like $2 up versus the 26 it was at. And then it's quickly 30 if you're even buying a playset. You get into that range for over half the playset, and it continues on there in the listings for the OG art. And then there's also the alter art version. I personally like the OG art secret rare if you're gonna go ahead and get yourself a playset for mid-max. Yes, there's collector rare, which is nice. Actually, two different collector rares. But when it comes down to it, think of how long people waited for this to be secret, and then look over at secret rare effect Veiler. I think you should probably be getting this version just for how it looks, but that's my personal taste. I would use that TCG player link in the description down below, costing you nothing extra to support the channel directly for the cards you'd already be buying while doing so. Now, the other ones probably do have higher ceilings, quote unquote, but I just think the secret rare is going to do well for itself over time, most likely. Ancient Gears are back with a vengeance. We talked about the statue. Now, I did not know when Gear Town got bought out why everything was going so crazy, but here we go with a ton of different buyouts. Ancient Gear Weaver, both the common and the Structured X Super, are up in price a very good amount. So is Ancient Gear Catapult. I remember when this came out and trying to combo with it into stuff like VFD and crazy. I really did like the card though, but the deck doesn't really solve its problems for all this hype that's being applied to it. Ancient Gear Fusion is up like $1.50 to $2 depending on the version. I like the ultra rare more because Ancient Millennium is one of the most costly in terms of duelist packs, and I think the ultra actually goes name-wise better than the secret. I've gone back and forth on this, but really sitting down and thinking about it, the ultra rare looks great. And then you have the gold letter rare actually picking up steam and going down in quantities too. And then Ancient Gear Fortress, remember this $20 common going into the main slots for Bonanza and not the legacy pool. Well, this quarter century secret rare has gone from $2 towards $5 to $6, a nice little double up if you ended up getting that early, but has tons of versions. That's what I love. Even if one goes up, there's just so many printings in one set that it keeps it cheap for a while if you're looking for just the card. I still think that the problems aren't fixed in this deck, that there's plenty of things to think through when actually going out and buying it, but if you are in the market and you're in that nostalgia for Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, you love Earth Machine, it makes a bit of sense why it's so popular. Psychic's got tons of new support. You can see Jeff Jones rambling on Twitter, which I always pay attention to. There's definitely, he just comes up with day one combos, and he's a huge pioneer of the Psychic type strategy success. Well, emergency teleport quarter century secret rares are now actually searchable from your deck, and so is any version. It's not like that meme where it's like, if it's in this rarity, it gets a different effect. But the quarter century secret rare is up big. The OG first edition ulti is something I would think about looking at too. You have a collector rare out of Grand Creators, but because of all these different versions you have of it, I think, thanks to Rarity 2 once again, you can go pick, mix, and match, and the secret rare is also a nice looking cheap version of this too. Then there's Cyframe Lord Omega, which wasn't moving early in the morning but started moving later. Somebody in the Discord was actually talking about how it hadn't moved in price yet then, so nice little timestamp. It's up towards $7, and this is one that's been on my penny stonks before in terms of like, this just ends up doing something in the game when it's around. Super good card, makes sense, and has a ton of nice versions to pick from there. Also, Psychic and Punisher quarter century secret rare is going, you can see, almost completely out of copies, but you have a ton of nice versions to pick from. See, Rarity 2 doing a little bit of lifting as a set. Overdrive Teleporter still has no reprints. This is actually one of the last cards that I bought a stack of from Troll and Toad before I quit vending back in, what was it, like 2017, whenever ABC format was. So I have them somewhere in one of the boxes behind me, a nice little stack. I still think it's failed every time it's tried to get that hype going for it in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And at $50, I don't think it's worth chasing after. Let's see where it actually sold out at. Looks like Near Mint Unlim at 20, at 15. I would get going ahead and gambling on first editions around $20. But again, it has a huge overhype history, so be aware if you're actually trying to just get this to play with, as a lot of times it's gone up and then comes straight back down in price, and usually slowly because of the one printing problem. The Stalos Quarter Century Secret Rare is way up in price like crazy, towards $30 as Monarchs have new support. Ryza is also going up a good amount, towards $16, and you can see here it was towards under 10. Caius is even getting traction in sales, but not quite up in price yet. It's around $60, but you can see how sales really picked up in the last 2 days versus the last couple of weeks where it was very slow comparatively. And then Mobius also is up just a few dollars, towards 10 from like $8 here on the graph. I think that Monarchs are super nostalgic for the players that like were in two different metagames, by the way, the old school boomer Yu-Gi-Oh! And this fits into past formats. Like, I would actually think about getting these Mobiuses sooner than later with the hype coming towards Monarchs, because GOAT format's getting a ton of buyouts for its physical event happening in the 3v3 that everyone's practicing for. So I think Mobius is a great side deck in GOAT format, but I do find that this hype also gets overblown. That's kind of a theme of today of, yes, this is going up, but probably shouldn't be going so crazy, except this card has multi-use. Blackluster Soldier, it was one of the top cards of this set, is going up very continuously right now and bought out to the point of $95. And remember, there's extra interest in pushing the Bonanza as we head towards Stampede. Vendors want to see this bolster and be successful so that the next set has weight and value and that sort of thing. I got a comment yesterday that was like, don't buy any modern cards and invest. Look what happened to Starlight Rares. And I don't disagree that the 30th is looming. However, I think that QCRs are such good value for their looks that they're hard to ignore. Like when this falls down to $50 to $60, I think that's a somewhat easy buy for such an iconic card, considering the crystal card that doesn't look that great goes for around $800 to $1,000 on the low and mostly sold at $1,200. I just think when it comes down to it, you have to consider what the card is, what the price in is, and then where the hype overblows it to and what a good range for it actually is. And sometimes it's going to go past that for you, and you have to pick and choose. Rant aside, other GOAT cards are up, like Genzo, one of my favorites. I was waiting a little long on, but I do have one secured. It is up towards $75 to $100. At $25 to $30, I thought that was pretty much a no-brainer, which is when I tapped tier 0 and I was like, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and build some past format decks, because I actually topped with Troop Dupe. I'm not just the Samurai kid. Troop Dupe was one of my favorite formats. It's like sped up GOATs crazy. But you can see the sales are hitting 70s on this now. And to me, that's not a range I'm a customer at. I don't think I'm a customer over 50 personally. So do kind of try to see the traction. Quarter Century Secrets ending. People may be trying to create buyouts later, but that time chamber versus the 30th anniversary and what promotion might happen, and then double and triple dipping into cards with Starlight collections maybe even. Do consider what Konami can do with the future, even if it's just speculation, versus where you're putting that hard-earned money. Black Whirlwind is up in price for past formats. It's towards $30 to $40, all the way from a 15 as the graph was spiking. We covered Vayu going up before, and you can see most of the sales are under 20, although people are starting to bite on both this and notably Vayu now towards its hype prices. People are biting after those buyouts higher than I would, but that often again does happen. Thanks for watching today's Market Watch. I got a little more into market theory today, but I enjoy doing that. I enjoy talking about where card prices go, my thoughts on them, and also where I personally would be, not even just as vendor man, but as past format collector and enjoyer of playing those. I think that the Quarter Century Secret Rare looks really good in my personal opinion, and that's not for everybody. Some people think it's too sparkly, some people don't like it, and other people also feel that 30th anniversary looming where they could or could not do something, as well as a Starlight collection that could emulate what Rarity Collection does with the sales that it's done for the game. I feel there's so much that Konami's kind of cash grabbed at in the last couple years that you do want to pick and choose your timing. And you do want to consider your budget as well, instead of overreaching and reacting to things rather than quote-unquote being ahead. And that's what I was telling you for a long time. Hey, if it's in Bonanza and you like it, grab it sooner than later. And even more cards than I thought started going, because I wanted to play the spread and potential more than specifics, because I just figured they're so darn hard to pull, and so many of them are actual fan favorites that those communities are going to find them or find reasons to go after them. And look at the quantities on this front page. 3 listings on Raw just from a little new support. LOB format's not all that popular. I'm probably its #1 fan, and it's here at 10 listings on the Summon Skull. It's just crazy, the actual bubbling up that Bonanza is doing ahead of Stampede, past my personal expectations, which tells you, even though I thought you should probably go for it, it's crazier than it actually should have been, in my opinion.